the murder rate was as high as it's ever been. The streets were filthy. Businesses were leaving. It wasn't a place to raise a family. And then a guy named Rudy Giuliani, and I'm talking about Rudy Giuliani from back then, not Rudy Giuliani of today, because some people are like, it's not really him. You don't know. Rudy Giuliani came in with a spine of steel and says, we're going to clean this up. I'm putting the city first. It's not about politics. And that Rudy, I really respect and love, because what he did in a city that didn't normally necessarily accept people of his actual political background and belief and value system, he got the city completely turned around.
Warren Buffett just talked about it the other day again.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't even give to charity right now because I think I could build more wealth over the long term and then give it all away at the end. Yeah. And I probably make a bigger impact that way. So anyways, what do you think about all that?
No, to your point, I think the obsession with labels and brands and what does this say about me? Because we're all worried about how we look and how we come off. The reality is, if you actually take a step back, the wealthiest of people, they don't wear any of those labels. They got to a point where they've created so much wealth that they recognize that their validity, their sense of worth and purpose is not tied up in a material possession or label. It is actually in the purpose or the calling of what they're doing. There's a mission that's so much more important that anything material actually almost disgusts them. You won't find the wealthiest of people wearing those labels, right? Now, celebrities are different, right? But most of them aren't doing well financially. They're spending way more than they actually make, which is why so many athletes, actors, actresses end up broke, but they're the ones wearing the labels. So we all think that that's a pinnacle of success, and that's what we celebrate because we see it. It's like, I want to buy that label. I want to fly private. I want to get that Gucci belt because it's going to say something about me. And that's just kind of the way American insecurity works, unfortunately. But there's only one winner in that equation, and that is the manufacturer, that is the US economy, right? That benefits from that type of consumption, and you blowing your entire check on that when you've done nothing to further yourself. So when your mission, when your calling, when your purpose, when the goal you have for yourself, for your family, for your business, whatever, is so much bigger and stronger, you won't even care about any of that stuff. Look at Mark Zuckerberg, for example, right? The guy looks, and I always joke because I'm here in the Bay Area where there's so many tech entrepreneurs, the homeless look is in. Jeans and a t-shirt and a hoodie, probably that cost him no more than, that whole outfit's probably no more than 150 bucks. Some Adidas sneakers, he doesn't care, right? Now I'll listen to him because that guy's doing okay. He's making money, he's having an impact, like things are happening, and he's not doing it by way of getting himself caught up in material sites and possessions and the way he comes off looking to the rest of the world, right? His mission is much stronger. So I appreciate you saying that because there's too much of an obsession with that stuff. Look, I'm not saying don't enjoy things, don't stay at nice hotels. Look, I'm a Ritz-Carlton fan. I love staying. I was joking with you earlier. I had my wedding at the Pelican Hill. It took me years to pay that thing off. I'm just kidding, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I enjoy nice things too. But to your point, build the foundation. Put your mask on first. Time and place, right? Don't spend and take out the luxury car lease when you're still paying rent and paying somebody else's mortgage. Build up your own set of assets and do those things, and then you can reward yourself at that time. We have it all backwards here. It's time to kind of reverse course. So I'm in full agreement with you on there, man. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. All right. I want to get your take on, because I actually was up in San Francisco maybe 2 months ago. And what is this place, man? I mean, it's going downhill, man. I mean, some of these parts of town, I mean, it's like, it's so sad. I mean, is it the politics? Is it the leadership? Is it the just overrun by, because it's kind of like just open, to anybody? Yeah. What's going on, man? What's your take on that?
I think it's, and this gets me in trouble. I got actually canceled. I got suspended off of Instagram and had to start a new account about a year and a half ago, because I got really vocal during the mayor's recall election. And so I don't mind, because I'm just going to say it, it's not, if it's not free speech, then it's not free speech. That's just the bottom line here. So you got to be able to speak up about stuff. And I wasn't calling out names or even using profanity. I just said that if we don't do something to address all this post-COVID reopening crap that's going on, it's going to lead to businesses closing, which is ultimately going to hurt real estate, because that's my industry. I said 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. It was the truth, but I got suspended for that. So to your point, to your question, what has actually done it? It's been just a very progressive, overly empathetic approach to running a city. And it's complete fiscal mismanagement with absolutely zero accountability. There's checks, but no balances. right? This is one of the largest municipal budgets in the world as a city. I think it's like the 8th largest. Something, don't quote me on that. I need to double check it, but it is a massive one. But there's no accountability for stuff. And it's just because it's the way it's always been. New York went through this in the 1980s, right? The city was rife with crime, and the murder rate was as high as it's ever been. The streets were filthy. Businesses were leaving. It wasn't a place to raise a family. And then a guy named Rudy Giuliani, and I'm talking about Rudy Giuliani from back then, not Rudy Giuliani of today, because some people are like, it's not really him. You don't know. Rudy Giuliani came in with a spine of steel and says, we're going to clean this up. I'm putting the city first. It's not about politics. And that Rudy, I really respect and love, because what he did in a city that didn't normally necessarily accept people of his actual political background and belief and value system, he got the city completely turned around. San Francisco is basically at that same crossroads right now with 1980. The COVID policy was very, very restrictive, no doubt. And I can say that now. I was saying it back then, but it got me in trouble. There's very few people that would disagree with me now. And if they're disagreeing with me, they're lying. It was very, very overly restrictive. They kept moving the goalpost on businesses. It led to an exodus of people out of here. The homeless population, 4x, 5x, 10x, whatever you want to call it, right? Having safe zones for people to do drugs is just not anything I ever imagined I would ever see. Rather than actually dealing with the problem, they're just kind of enabling the problem and trying to contain it. But that's the wrong approach, because people are too afraid of stepping on toes or not coming off as empathetic. And now you have a spoiled brat, if you will, here's the analogy, that you raised until the age of 22 that's still living with you, and now you want to discipline him. It's almost too late, right? That work should have been done. So there's a big election that's coming up here for the mayor's race. There's a candidate who I'm a good friend with who comes from a very kind of almost like a centrist stance, which is what this city is going to need, and some accountability there. And he actually has run businesses. He used to work for a private equity fund. He understands how money works. So I'm very excited about this guy, instead of, just being part of a political machine or being controlled by special interests, because that's what we've had a string of, unfortunately. And it's put this city into the state it's in. This was one of the most beautiful cities and iconic places where so much imagination and possibility was in the air. Like, you could say hello.
And look, I've been going to San Francisco my whole life, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like I love San Francisco. It's a
great place. That's why I came
there a couple of months ago, and I'm like, it's a shit show, man. And so, I mean, literally a shit show.
No joke about that, Daniel. I'll tell you this. You came 2 months ago. That's actually much more improved from what it was, say, a year ago. A year ago, you would have left. You would have walked out and like, I'm out. It wasn't a safe place.
What I didn't understand is that the governor came in because China, the president of China came in. I don't know if this was what, 3 or 4 months ago. So
and Biden.
Biden, and they cleaned up the entire city.
Yeah.
Just for China. Now,
and Joe.
That is the craziest.
It's an insult. It was an insult to the citizens of the small business community, because people asked him, why did this need to happen now? What, like, you cleaned it up for them, these 2 house guests that were here for a week. And some of that is stuck. Some of that is stuck. I don't know what they did with displacing people, but there are a lot of streets and areas that were shitty, and they're pretty freaking clean now. So it's stuck. But the fury and the rage and the disgust with this came from some people that were actually like awake during the time, which is me. I'm one of those people. I'm like, why didn't you do this for the tax-paying citizens, the small business owners, and the people that are in the fight that lost everything during COVID because you kept their business shut down? You said, no, you can open, no, you can't open. Every week it was a new thing, no transparency, kept moving the goalposts. You couldn't clean it for them, who actually fund your city, but for Joe Biden and the leader of the Chinese Communist Party, I think it needs
Communist Party.
Thank you.
We're not communists, man.
We're not communists. But you'll roll out the red carpet and vacuum and tidy up and break out the Lysol and disinfectant and clean the streets up for them. And if that gets me shut down for even saying it, I don't care at this point.
No, I mean, I'm glad you're saying it, because I'm like your biggest fan now, because I mean, you're willing to say it, because nobody ever, look, I mean, this whole COVID thing, to me, it was ridiculous. I mean, now people are coming out to saying, I mean, I just heard it the other day. I forget who said it, but a lot of people are now using ivermectin to combat COVID and just get a overall, kind of protection of health, right? And all the doctors that were getting canceled back in 2020, like literally their accounts were being shut down. Yeah. They were being censored, you name it, because they were saying that ivermectin, and then even the media was making fun of it, saying, oh, it's a horse thing for horses or animals or whatever. And all, I mean, it was such a blatant disregard for medical, real medical science. I mean, the thing has been around for 20, 30 years. People have been using it for 20, 30 years, to combat malaria and all these other different diseases. But it's infuriating to me that all of these little conspiracy theories that we all had back in 2020, they're now coming true. What the fuck? It
turned out to be true,
right? I mean, that is like mind-boggling to me.
If you like this video and you want to watch another one, click right here. If you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.